I was in their backyard helping plant a garden for the kids when my daughter-in-law said loudly, "Why is she still here? Doesn't she have a life?" My son laughed and said, "She thinks she's helping." I dug one last hole. What I buried there would come back in a way they never expected. I'm 62. I've worked hard all my life. I never had a big job, never made real money, but I raised my son on my own after his dad left us when he was little. I worked double shifts at a diner, cleaned motel rooms, and sold crafts at flea markets on weekends to get him through school. He was my whole world. I gave up everything for him. No vacations. No dating. I didn't even buy new clothes for 10 years so he could have decent shoes. He got into Purdue. I cried when he got his degree. He met a girl named Stephanie there. I wasn't sure about her from the beginning. She always seemed like she was performing. Nice in front of others, cold behind closed doors. But I kept my mouth shut. I didn't want to be that mother. They got married in Indianapolis and moved into a nice house in Noblesville. 2 kids. A good job in tech for him. She started her own event planning business. From the outside, it looked perfect. I visited when I could, helped with the kids, stayed in the guest room sometimes when Stephanie was out of town. She never said anything directly. It was always little things. Sighs when I offered to cook, sarcastic comments about how some people don't know when to leave. I brushed it off. But that Saturday afternoon, she didn't bother hiding it. I was crouched down planting the last row of lettuce in the garden. I was sweaty, my back hurt, but I was happy. The girls were playing in the grass, giggling. I thought maybe this time, maybe I'd finally done something right. Then I heard her. "Why is she still here?" she said, loud and clear. I paused. I didn't look up. "Doesn't she have a life?" she said again. Then my son laughed. "She thinks she's helping." They were standing on the deck, wine glasses in hand, looking right at me. Like I was a joke. Like I was some stray dog that wouldn't leave. I kept my face still. I finished patting the soil over the last plant. But something in me changed. I'd been ignored, dismissed, walked over for years. I stayed quiet for too long. But not this time. Before I left, I dug one more hole. Right by the back fence. It looked like just another part of the garden. I even planted a few herbs over it to make it look natural. But under the dirt, I buried a mason jar. Inside that jar was a USB drive. And on that drive? Everything I had collected over the last several months. Because here's the thing. I saw this coming. I felt the shift for a while. Stephanie started pushing me out more and more. Changing plans without telling me, ignoring my calls, accidentally forgetting to include me in family group texts. And my son? He went along with it. Or worse, defended her. So I started saving things. Texts from Stephanie that were downright cruel. Voicemails where she mocked me to someone else, not realizing I was on the other line. Screenshots of posts she made online, passive-aggressively ranting about her clingy MIL. I also had a folder with receipts. Not metaphorical ones. Real receipts. Because last Thanksgiving, she used my social security number to open a department store credit card in my name. I found out when a bill showed up at my apartment in January. I didn't say anything. I was scared. Embarrassed. But I printed it out and saved it. I made a copy of everything and put it on that USB drive. I even added photos, pictures I'd taken of bruises on the kids' arms. Once, I saw a welt on the older girl's leg. Stephanie said she fell down the stairs, but it didn't look like that to me. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it at first. But when they laughed at me like that, like I was trash, I knew. I'd been planting something much bigger than vegetables. After I left, I didn't call or text for a week. Neither did they. I acted like everything was fine, but I started putting my plan together. I knew if I came at them directly, they'd twist it around. Make me look crazy. So I started small. I sent anonymous tips to CPS. Nothing extreme, just enough to make sure someone checked on the kids. I didn't want to lie. I just wanted someone else to see what I was seeing. Then I contacted a lawyer. He was a friend of someone I cleaned for years ago. I told him about the identity theft. He helped me file the report. He told me what to do next. Then I mailed a copy of the USB to myself. Certified mail. So there'd be a record. Just in case I needed it. Stephanie had no idea I was watching. She thought I was just the pathetic mother-in-law who didn't know when to quit. She was about to find out just how wrong she was. About 2 weeks after that day in the garden, I got a text from my son. First time he'd messaged me since. Hey, haven't heard from you. You good? I didn't reply. Not right away. Later that night, I posted a photo in the family group chat. Just a throwback picture of me holding the girls at the zoo from last summer. Nothing suspicious. But it was bait. Stephanie replied first. Cute pic. Hope all is well. Then I sent another message. Just one line, some things buried in the garden grow stronger over time. No one responded. The next day, I got a call from my son. Mom, he said. Are you okay? That message. What's going on? I could hear the tension in his voice. He was nervous. He should have been. I didn't answer his question. I just said, I'm fine. Just letting you know I've been doing some spring cleaning. Found a lot of things I'd forgotten I saved. He paused. What do you mean? I mean, I said, some people really shouldn't steal from family. Especially not their identity. There was silence. You're talking about the card? Stephanie explained that. She was going to surprise you with something for Christmas, and she bought herself a $700 handbag. I snapped. Don't insult me. He didn't argue. He didn't apologize either. He just said, let me talk to her. I hung up. 3 days later, my mailbox was ripped open. Not just opened, torn off the hinges. Mail scattered across the street. I filed a police report, but nothing came of it. I know who did it. She wanted to know if I had mailed anything important. She was too late. By that time, I had already handed a sealed envelope to my lawyer. Another copy of the USB contents. And I'd sent a third to a local news tip line anonymously. I wasn't playing anymore. The next morning, I got an email from my older granddaughter's school. They wanted to meet with me. I never put myself down as an emergency contact. I knew better. But apparently, during one of the school's routine wellness checks, my granddaughter mentioned something. Something about mommy yelling when she drinks the red stuff. I showed up to the meeting. Sat across from a school counselor and a social worker. They had questions. I didn't lie. I told them I'd seen bruises. I told them about Stephanie's drinking during the day. About the time I showed up and found the baby in a dirty diaper, crying, while Stephanie was asleep with an open bottle of wine next to her. I gave them everything. That night, he came to my apartment. He didn't knock. Just banged on the door loud enough for my neighbor to peek through her blinds. I opened it. What the hell are you doing? He said. His face was red. Eyes bloodshot. He hadn't shaved. He looked worn out. You called CPS? You talked to the school? I protected your kids, I said, calm as I could. Stephanie's losing clients because of that tip you sent to the station, he growled. She's being investigated for fraud. Do you realize what you've done to our family? You mean what you two did to yourselves? I asked. I gave you a chance to make it right. You laughed in my face. He stepped toward me. I didn't move. You think you're going to take my kids away from me? He said, low. I'm not trying to take them, I said. I'm trying to make sure they're safe. He shook his head. You always think you know best. You never trusted her. You never trusted me. He turned and walked away. I watched him go, and it hurt more than I thought it would. But I knew now. I had been holding on to the son I thought I raised. That boy was gone. And the man left behind had become a stranger. A week passed. I didn't hear from them. Not a call, not a text. I figured they were scrambling, trying to control the damage. Then, out of nowhere, I got a call from Denise. She's Stephanie's older sister. We'd only met a few times, weddings, birthdays. She was always polite to me. Distant, but polite. Can I come over? She asked. An hour later, she showed up at my door holding a manila envelope. She sat on my couch, didn't even ask for coffee. Just handed me the envelope. I don't know who sent this, she said. It came to my office. Inside were printed screenshots. A lot of them. More than I remembered saving. Text threads. Photos. That receipt for the stolen card. Even an old video clip, Stephanie yelling at one of the girls for dropping a cup, then slamming the pantry door so hard the camera shook. My hand shook. I thought you should know, Denise said. This is going to get worse. She didn't defend her sister. She didn't explain anything. She just stood up and said, if you need me for court, I'll testify. I've seen enough. Then she left. I sat there with the envelope in my lap for a long time. Whoever sent it to Denise, maybe my lawyer, maybe the school, maybe even a concerned teacher, it didn't matter. The truth was out now. 3 days later, CPS showed up at their house again. I wasn't there, but I heard about it from a neighbor I used to babysit years ago. Small towns don't keep secrets long. Noblesville isn't that small. They showed up in the morning. Stephanie was home with the girls. My son was at work. This time, they had a court order. The kids were removed that day. Placed in temporary care. That same afternoon, my phone rang. It was my son again. His voice was shaky. They took them, he said. They just took them. I could hear Stephanie sobbing in the background. Why didn't you say something? He asked. Why didn't you talk to us before going this far? I did talk to you, I said. You laughed. Silence. I didn't mean for it to get to this point, he finally said. Yes, you did, I said. You just didn't think I'd do anything about it. A few nights later, I was asleep when the phone rang. A woman's voice. Calm. Too calm. Mrs. Lane, she said. My name is Sandra. I'm a paralegal working with the Department of Child Services. I sat up. We've reviewed the documents you submitted, she said. There's a lot here. More than enough for a full investigation. Okay, I said. There's something else, she added. We're opening a secondary inquiry. Into what? Your son's finances. There are irregularities, payments linked to business accounts that don't match up. We believe Stephanie may have used your stolen information to cover up other debts. Possibly even accessed your pension funds. I went still. My what? We'll keep you informed, she said. But I suggest you check your statements. The call ended. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I pulled out my old lockbox. Inside were years of retirement records, account info, printouts from the credit union. I started cross-referencing every withdrawal. She had taken more than I realized. Thousands. Later that week, I went to the courthouse to sit in on the custody hearing. I wasn't allowed to speak yet, but I sat behind the glass, hands folded in my lap. My son looked tired. Stephanie looked wrecked, no makeup, messy hair, pale. The judge read through the reports. Photos. Video. Testimonies from the school, neighbors, Denise. The woman from the Department of Child Services spoke next. Then the judge turned to them. This is no longer just about neglect, he said. This is about fraud. Identity theft. Child endangerment. This is a pattern. Not a mistake. I watched my son hang his head. Stephanie broke down crying. Not just tears, ugly crying. Shoulders shaking. Her lawyer had to hold her back from speaking out of turn. The judge didn't grant custody. Not to them. But he didn't grant it to me either. Not yet. They needed more time to investigate. Outside the courtroom, my son walked past me without a word. Stephanie wouldn't even look at me. And even though I should have felt satisfied, I didn't. Not yet. Because the real revenge hadn't even started. Not until they lost the one thing they thought they controlled forever, their future. It took 3 months for the final hearing to be scheduled. In those 3 months, a lot changed. Stephanie was charged with multiple counts of identity theft and financial fraud. She had used not just my identity, but her sister Denise's as well, opened cards, ran up debts, then tried to fake payment plans. She had drained $14,000 from an old pension account of mine I didn't even know she had access to. She pleaded not guilty at first, then changed it after the evidence started stacking. Her lawyer pushed for a plea deal. She ended up with probation, fines, mandatory rehab, and full financial restitution. She cried in court. She said she didn't mean to hurt anyone. But no one clapped for her performance this time. My son didn't come to her hearing. He had his own problems. Turns out he knew about some of what Stephanie was doing. Not all, but enough. He let her open those accounts under my name because she said she'd pay them back. And he didn't report it. Didn't stop it. That made him an accessory. He lost his job the same week. His company had seen the news story, the same one that ran a quiet segment using the anonymous tips I'd sent to the local station. Nothing major. But enough for HR to get spooked. He tried to fight it, but they'd already decided. By the time the custody hearing came, my son and Stephanie were living apart, both unemployed, both scrambling to stay out of jail, both losing grip on their image of a happy, put-together family. And the kids? They were placed in temporary care with a foster family who had worked with the school before. Sweet people. I met with them a few times under supervised visits. The girls were quiet at first, scared, withdrawn. But then, they started opening up. My older granddaughter asked me, "Are we gonna have to go back to Mommy and Daddy's house?" I said, "Not if I can help it." She smiled for the first time in weeks. The courtroom was packed for the final hearing. More than I expected. The school counselor. A few neighbors. Even Denise came. My son sat on the right, Stephanie on the left. They didn't look at each other. Or me. I took the stand when the judge called me. I told the truth. Not just about the abuse and the fraud, but about my own part in it too. I told the court I'd ignored signs. That I'd let them treat me like I didn't matter for years. That I didn't speak up soon enough. That I was scared of being cut out of their lives, so I let things slide I never should have. I told the judge about the day in the garden. Word for word. How they laughed while I stood in the dirt, knees aching, just trying to help. And how that was the moment I realized they didn't see me as family anymore. Just a tool. A joke. The courtroom was quiet. Then the judge asked one question. "Why now?" I paused. "Because they didn't just hurt me," I said. "They hurt the only people who didn't have a voice in any of this, those little girls." And someone had to finally speak up. The judge didn't grant either parent custody. Instead, he gave full guardianship to me. Under the condition that I move into a larger, stable home and complete parenting certification, which I did gladly. With the help of a social worker and my lawyer, I used a portion of the restitution to relocate to a quiet rental just outside Fishers, Indiana. Close enough to the girls' school. Close enough to Denise and the support I'd need. Stephanie tried to object. Said I was too old to raise kids. The judge didn't flinch. You were too careless to raise them, he said. My son didn't say anything. Didn't fight it. He just sat there with his head down, hands shaking. After the ruling, he followed me out of the courtroom. Mom, he said. Can we talk? I turned to him. You had years to talk, I said. And you wasted them laughing at me. He didn't follow me after that. I haven't seen him since. It's been a year now. The girls are doing better. Therapy helps. So does structure. So does safety. They still ask about their parents sometimes, but they don't cry when they do. Not anymore. Denise visits every weekend. She helps me with errands, takes the girls shopping, bakes with them. She said I gave her an excuse to finally break free of her sister's lies. I told her she gave me hope when I was about to give up. The garden? We rebuilt it. This time, I let the girls pick what we planted. Strawberries, carrots, cherry tomatoes, even sunflowers. The youngest likes to water them with a little blue watering can. She sings to them. And me? I'm tired. But I'm not broken anymore. Sometimes, when I sit on the back porch, I look toward that spot near the fence, the one where I buried the jar. It's still there. The dirt settled long ago. I don't need to dig it back up. The truth already bloomed. And it destroyed everything that needed to die.